What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a marvelous Tuesday night. I know I am. How you feeling, Mr. Live Worldwide? My main man, Jeff Houston.
Anytime that we are on Bones to Domes live to the world here on Facebook Live, it is a good day, Tony. Tuesdays are now becoming my favorite day of the week.
That's true, man. Can't go wrong with a Tuesday. Not much goes on Tuesdays. That's why
Taco
we
Tuesday.
picked
Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. That
Come
is
on now.
true. That's true. Taco Tuesday. But
And
I'm
Taboo,
not much.
Taboo Tuesday. They only did Taboo Tuesday with the WWE just a little bit. But we got Taco Tuesday, we had Taboo Tuesday, and the WWE had Tuesday in Texas, but they only did that once, and that was like over 30 years ago.
All I know is that being a parent for Tuesdays, I know AMC movie theaters has like I don't know if I should even be plugging them until we get get a sponsorship from them. But no, I'm just kidding. But
you can make an honorable mention.
Being a parent, they do like 40% off on movies on Tuesdays. So that's normally when me and my kids go to the movies. I'm a cheapskate, as everyone knows.
It's being frugal. If you can get away with not paying full price, that's not cheap. That's smart.
Yeah, I got to take them this weekend actually to go see the new movie. I know you're a Cobra K. What am I talking about? Cobra Kai fan. And Miguel from Cobra Kai has a new movie coming out. Marvel movie called Blue Beetle.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
I promised my kids I'd take them this weekend, so we'll probably be going.
Always interesting to see what Marvel's going to come up with next.
You never pretty know. Cool, man. I can't lie.
You never know.
Like
you never know. Some of them are a hit. Some of them are a miss. I mean, DC's the same way. We all thought that Black Adam and The Rock was going to blow everything away, and it was like, I can understand why they're not. I can understand after watching it the first time why they're not choosing to continue the franchise.
And I'm a big Rock fan, and it was.
It just didn't do it for me, man. I mean, it's just something about it. I mean, maybe it's just the fact that The Rock has typecast himself into a specific genre, and it's going to take a Herculean effort, no pun intended, for him to try to do something different. But let's go ahead and let's get down to the nitty gritty. We got two guests, as I said before, dynamic guests that we've got joining us here on Bones to Domes this week. Our first guest is no stranger to the world of bare knuckle fighting championship. He is like me. He is an OG. He has been there since day one. He has actually been in talks with our founder and president David Feldman way before I was, so he was actually there when the groundwork was getting made. So let's bring him on to Bones to Domes, the one and only.
Hold on, we gotta wait. We gotta wait for him. He's not in the.
Oh my God!
It's all right.
You shut me down. That was good, but the rhythm was good. It was good.
It was good, man. It was good.
All right, next time. How about this? Next time that we have a guest that's not here yet, go ahead and do like the refs. Give me the X. Give me the X, and I will know.
I was hoping
to stop.
I have him right here in my text. He's like trying to get in. So here we go. Let's do it again. He's here.
Hold on. All right. You want me to do it again? I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Here we go.
You got to hit the rewind
time.
There you go.
There we go. Now we are ready. Now we are ready for our first guest of the evening. Once again, like I said, an OG to Bkfc. Been there since day one, before day one. And he is, in my opinion, probably the best commentator walking planet Earth today when it comes to combat sports. My good friend, your good friend, lead commentator with Bkfc, the one and only Mr. Diet Mountain Dew, Sean Wheelock.
Jeff, how are you? Thank you for having me on, DJ Tony. Thanks, you guys. Great to see you both.
Oh, man, we were thrilled to have you. We were thrilled that you accepted our invitation to Bones to Domes. It's an absolutely new venture for the both of us. Sean and I have been road warriors for many, many years. We have been in many, many different countries, had many, many good meals, and seen a hell of a lot of good fights, which makes for a very long-lasting, solid friendship. But it changed something awful in a good way. I'm not going to say something awful in a bad way, but it changed something in an amazing way when you gave me the phone call telling about this brand new concept that was out there. You've been talking with David Feldman, and you told me bare knuckle fighting, you definitely saw something in this. I want to go back. I want to start by going back to the early talks with you and David when how did all that happen? See, the thing about it is you've told me a lot about what's happened, but I didn't really know what was going on leading up to the meeting. I'd like to know about that if you would like to tell us.
Yeah, Jeff, there's always such a serendipitous quality in all of this business. I think about Art Davie, and when Art Davie is trying to put together the thing that ultimately became the Ultimate Fighting Championship, he's reading an article about this guy, Rorion Gracie, who's here from Brazil, and he's the toughest man in America. And Art Davie realizes that the new Gracie Academy is about 2 blocks from where he's reading the article. That's serendipity, right? There's always a serendipitous quality to this. So in 2016, I was doing a podcast with my good friend, Big John McCarthy. Mm-hmm. We had Bobby Gunn on the program. John knew Bobby Gunn. I'll have to ask John. I got to call him this week. I still don't know how or why John knew Bobby Gunn, but I knew who Bobby Gunn was. I had never met him. I understood about the underground bare knuckle. I had read a book. This is 2016, probably 15 years prior, around 2000, 2001, that I had picked up in England on the history of bare knuckle boxing, the Broughton's rules, mm-hmm. The London prize ring rules. So we had Bobby Gunn on the show. He was a great guest. Afterwards, I start talking to Bobby off air, and he said, I got to introduce you to this guy, David Feldman. We're putting this together. I'm going to fight. I think we're going to get this legalized. I think we're going to do a show in June. Here's his number. I want you to call David Feldman. I called David Feldman. We hit it off. He hired me as a consultant. And 2 years later, it's Bkfc 1. Now, in that 24-month interim, that's when, as a consultant, and I was mainly doing regulatory, but I had the chance to recommend some fighters. I got Nick Mamlis on the first card. I got Joe Riggs on an early card. I was hitting up friends of mine, and we talked about ring announcers. And I said, I have the guy for you. His name is Jeff Houston. He is fantastic. This is the person who is going to be the voice of Bkfc. I found Jeff, and I don't know if you know this part of the story, I found your demo link on YouTube. I cut and pasted, sent him that link, and I said, watch this. But you and I were doing, I think, Knockout Night at the D or RJJ boxing together at the time. I said, here's the link. Watch this. I'll vouch for this guy. This guy's phenomenal. And David watched it, and he hired you right there.
That I did not know. I actually did not know that you utilized my demo from the Knockout Night at the D. That was a fun little series. I'm going to be honest, between you and I really wish that series had more legs. I had a lot of fun doing that because not only did I get the opportunity to work with you, not only did I get the opportunity to hang out with Art Davie on top of that, but we also had somebody who was in an interesting transitional part of his commentating career, and that was Jim Ross. So there were a lot of interesting factors that went into that broadcast.
Yeah, that was a really cool show. And during my 5.5 years at Bellator, the one thing I missed was commentating boxing. And an early break of mine when I was still predominantly a soccer commentator and had a little bit of work for ESPN, my coordinating producer for soccer, a man named Bill Graff, I think he might be an NFL network now, but Bill Graff, just weird serendipity, was the coordinating producer for boxing. Mm-hmm. And I bugged Bill Graff until he finally put me on some fill-ins on Friday Night Fights. And so I was working on Friday Night Fights. I got to do that. I wound up getting Pride. I got M1. I went from doing soccer from ESPN to Fox. That was kind of the end of my boxing, but I had a taste for it. Even though I'm an MMA guy at heart, I wanted to do boxing. That was my first combat sport as a little kid watching. Because when I was a very little kid, 5, 6 years old, obviously Art Davie hadn't created the UFC yet. It was boxing basically and pro wrestling is things to watch when you're a kid in Kansas City. But I missed boxing during Bellator, and I was contract exclusive. I could only do Bellator. I couldn't do any other combat sports. So in 2016, I had a chance to do a couple of boxings. I worked a pay-per-view with Jim Ross. He recommended me for Knockout Night at the D, and that was a really fun series. You and I worked together. I got to work with Joey Varner, who I became very close friends with, and I got to know Jim Ross. And
you two were good. You and Joey
were
very. You were good together. You were good together. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Jim Ross obviously is a big kayfabe guy, a big mark for pro wrestling. Jim Ross was someone who I held in esteem like I did Gordon Soley or Jesse Ventura or Gorilla Monsoon. So a real foundational voice in my childhood. And so when I got a chance to work with Jim Ross and I got a chance to know him, and I still will text him or talk to him on occasion, that was a lot of fun. So I look at three things that happened out of that series. I got to know you, Jeff, and form a great friendship with you. I got to do boxing on television again, and I got to work with JR.
Wow, I mean that's a lot right there. That's a lot that's happening, and that's another out of the several factors that really make what we do for a living so interesting. I mean, so many incredible stories, and it's also interesting that the fight game is such a small world. It covers all across this planet from one side to another, but it's amazing when you come across somebody that knows 20 to 30 of the same people and the same mannerisms of those people that you're on the road with. I mean, people call me Mr. Live Worldwide, but you, on the other hand, you have hit up probably a few more countries than me. You've got some interesting countries under your belt. One of the most interesting, of course, was Myanmar, and I know that you are missing that. I know that you're missing that series, the Lathway, the WLC. It really was a fantastic series, and it's a shame that's what's happening with the military coup and the status of the local government and such. But that had to have been one that kind of stands out from the rest as far as just a very unique experience.
Yeah, I loved World Lightweight Championship, and I've been all throughout Asia solely for fighting: Indonesia, Japan, South Korea, China, Thailand. Myanmar is something really special. All those countries are amazing, but Myanmar is amazing times 10. It's so unfortunate to me that there's so much political strife. There's a bubbling under civil war. The democratically elected government was overthrown in a military coup, and that was the end of World Lightweight Championship. I had a lot of people ask me when I was doing the series, just because it was known as not the most politically stable country, are you scared? I was like, well, first of all, they're the politest people I have ever met in my life, and that includes Brazilians and Canadians and people from Kansas. They're the politest people. And if anything were to happen, which ultimately it did, nobody's mad at me. I was actually having this conversation with somebody last week. They said, can you imagine if you had been in Myanmar and the government was overthrown? I said, yeah, I can imagine it. They would have knocked on my hotel and they would have said, sir, please pack your bags and here, enjoy this refreshing juice. And then we'd like you to come to the airport and leave. There was never any danger for a Westerner or an American coming in. I was treated with great respect. It was just it still is. It's a wonderful country that's going through a lot of political upheaval, but a brilliant culture. So much fun doing Letway. And it wasn't just fighters from Myanmar. It was fighters from Cambodia, from Thailand, from Vietnam, Italy, Australia, England, Canada, Australia. It was a really special show. We wound up getting that on Fight Pass. I helped put that deal together. I was really proud of that because we were just on TV through Canal Plus in Asia. And it developed a nice little following. It's just the shame of the geopolitical climate. It put it out of business. But just before the military coup, there were serious discussions about doing shows in the United States. We probably would have either done Wyoming or Florida or maybe both. Would have been interesting to see how that turned out.
What you got, Tony?
I got my daughter bothering me, and no, I'm just kidding. Nah, that's man. You are a legend, as you know. What I got for you, what I want to know is, out of all the places in the whole entire world, what is the most memorable moment for you in your commentating, I guess you could say, history, your commentating life? Yeah,
Tony, that's an awesome question. I was such a Pride fan, and there was that era. A lot of people refer to it, right, colloquially, as the dark era of the UFC. It was after Art Davie had sold to Bob Meyerowitz. He had exited Bob Meyerowitz before he sold to the Fertittas. when it was off of pay-per-view television. The only way to get it, at least for me, was to go to Blockbuster, and it seemed like the fights were 5 and 6 months old by the time you got it. And I transitioned into Pride, and I became a massive Pride fan. Pride I was able to find on Netflix, early Netflix, with the DVDs, not the streaming, but the DVDs in the mail. For some reason, you could always get Pride DVDs quicker than you could get the DVDs or the VHSs at Blockbuster Video. So I transitioned from someone who watched, actually there's the UFC 1 poster right behind me, but someone who had watched UFC 1 live as a kid, all the early UFCs 1 through maybe 19 live until it went off of pay-per-view. And then I transitioned into being a Pride fan. So Tony, when I got hired by Jerry Millen at Pride, and I'm at Saitama Super Arena, that was a surrealistic moment for me. I was still largely a soccer commentator. I was pretty experienced in the business, but not necessarily in the fight business. Right. And I thought, wow, this is about as cool as it gets. Pride ultimately, not long after they hired me, were purchased by the UFC and put out of business. But that was such an amazing moment for me. Not that I had any doubts I wanted to be a full-time fight commentator and move away from soccer. But if I did, which I probably didn't, but if I did, they were erased when I was at Saitama Super Arena.
Awesome.
Man, that's cool.
How do I say it in a nice way? You're old, man. You're taking it back there.
Here's the part though, is that this is something that I wanted to do from the time that I was a little kid. And people talk about Tony and Jeff knocking on doors figuratively. I literally knocked on doors. I was that kid at 16, 17 years old that would go to a Kansas City Royals game. I would walk into the parking lot, the broadcast compound. I would literally knock on the production truck door and say, "Hi, I want to work in TV. Can I come in?" And every once in a while that worked. So even with Major League Soccer, I was living with my mom. I put together a tape. So this is the 90s. So it was a tape that I put together, and I intentionally didn't show my face. I just put my voice. And so I think they thought I was 30 and I was like a teenager living with my mom. It was almost like if you ever saw Absolutely Fabulous, where the character that's meant to be Cameron Crowe and the editor from Rolling Stone figures out he's a high school kid. It was kind of that moment.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Wow. I worked with the producer this is year one of Major League Soccer. And he's like, I'm doing San Jose versus Los Angeles Galaxy in San Jose. And he's like, yeah, when you get in, let's meet up, knock on my hotel door, and then we'll meet up. We'll have a production meeting. Knock on the room and open the door. And he was like looking at me like I was delivering room service or picking up his laundry. He's like, yeah. I'm like, hey, I'm Sean. I'm your commentator. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, just like looking for my dad behind me. So I had the advantage. I've always looked probably a lot younger than I am, and I've had the advantage of starting very young. With that being said, Tony, yeah, I have been in this game a while.
That's good. I remember
you could have said it that way, Tony.
You know
somebody's gonna say that to you one day, and you're not gonna take too well to it yourself. Come on now.
No, but it's crazy though. Like you talked about, I have this vivid memory of watching UFC 1 live. On November 12th. That's 30 years ago, and I remember that night. My last Pride, the last Pride, was April 2007. If you're a 25-year-old fight fan, there's a good chance you never watched Pride live in your life. That's hard to believe that was 16 years ago. Even when I started in Bellator, which still doesn't seem that long ago, that was 13 years ago. So, yeah, point well taken, Tony.
I was 8 years old, so. Now, I remember my dad was a huge UFC fan when it first started, and he always used to try to get me to watch it with him. And I would be like, Dad, I'm waiting for wrestling to come on. Like leave me alone. Like, you go watch UFC. I'm watching WWF. Like, it's not the same, Dad. UFC's fake. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I knew nothing about UFC. It wasn't until I got older that I started watching it. But yeah, man, that's awesome. I wish I would have actually, partake or watch it with him when I was younger. It wasn't until maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago that I actually started watching UFC. Yeah. So that's
So
awesome.
when UFC one came on, so I was a huge boxing fan, and I was phasing out of being a huge pro wrestling fan, but I was still a big pro wrestling fan. I wasn't a massive pro wrestling fan, but I certainly had been. And on UFC one, I kind of knew what it would be, and I had read in the magazines that there was this thing called shoot fighting in Japan, and I remember reading an article, and it said it's like real pro wrestling. So I was hoping that UFC one was going to be this, but I also thought it could be worked. Maybe it was pro wrestling, or I thought it might be like one of those karate tournaments that I saw when I was like 4 years old with my dad at Memorial Hall, where they wore the foot pads and the long silky pants. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was only $14.95, and I knew my mom would always buy it for me, even though we didn't have a lot of extra money. I'm the only child of a single mom she's retired now. She was a public school art teacher. So $14.95 was a fair investment. It wasn't $99.95. And I thought, okay, this could be cool. I just wasn't sure what it was going to be. And I found out very, very quickly. And the next day, I just wanted to put somebody in a guard. I didn't even know. I'd never even heard of jiu-jitsu. You got to remember, guys, I'm from Shawnee, Kansas, and this is 1993. But I saw the guard, and I was like, okay, I know how to wrestle. I want to put somebody in a guard. I'm not sure what that will do, but it looks cool.
Well, you got to remember at that time, I mean, this was 1993. I mean, even when the UFC first came around, those who were looking at it, they end up seeing the Gracies there, and they're like, what's going on with this guy in pajamas and this non-violent way of submission fighting in a very, very violent and bloody sport? Not everybody got with it. Not everybody knew the incredible Muhammad Ali-esque stories of Elio Gracie back in the day, going from country to country, throwing out the challenge, saying that his form of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu could pretty much counter any martial arts style. As we all know, I mean, he ended up having a roadblock in the form of Kimura. There's always a roadblock somewhere, but that's very similar to how I came up with combat sports myself, because my father was a huge fan of full contact kickboxing back in the day, and as you know, in the 80s, it was ridiculously popular with the introduction of Don the Dragon Wilson, Dennis Alexio, and such. But a friend of the family was a former ISKA World Super Heavyweight Kickboxing Champion in the form of Bad Brad Hefton. I've told you about this before. And he was a family friend, and he would constantly, he was a friend of my father's, and he'd bring tapes all the time. And I remember I was probably about, 9 or 10 years old at the time watching this, and I'm just saying to myself, oh my God, how could I have not been paying attention to this when I was 4 or 5 years old? So I've always had I've always loved martial arts. I mean, I'm a team sports fan, as I guess a little bit, but I've always appreciated someone standing on their own 2 feet, someone going out there against all odds and putting it all on the line in the most violent way possible. I've always been a fan of that, and I know that you're a huge fan of overall martial arts. And we're not just talking about the kind that we sit down in front of the microphone and talk about. We're talking about across the board.
Yeah, I think people are kind of either fight fans or you're not. It just speaks to you even as a little kid, and I like the history of martial arts and fighting and combat sports. I'm fascinated why, and there's a story of the Gracies immigrating from Scotland, but of all the countries south of the United States, why until really in the last 10 or 12 years was Brazil the only one that embraced Gracie, or that embraced jiu-jitsu? Now, obviously, the Gracies moving from Scotland to Brazil, that's a major factor, but why didn't it spread? Now you're seeing a lot of Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools in Argentina. You're seeing the rise of outstanding fighters from Mexico, male and female, and MMA, especially in the UFC. But those are recent developments. If you look at, for instance, Muay Thai, why the Netherlands? Why, of all the European countries,
Very true.
did the Netherlands embrace Muay Thai? And if you go to Dutch protectorates, like if you go to Aruba or Curacao, they love it as well. But why not France? Why did France have Savate? Why was catch wrestling so big in England, but wrestling doesn't really exist as a sport even now in France? Why was judo so huge in Japan, but not in China? That's the stuff that speaks to me, too. I really love that. Art Davie, though, said it best. is that outside of soccer, the one universal sport is fighting. Everybody can get it. There's different interpretations, whether it's Savant in France or it's judo in Japan or it's pencak silat in Indonesia. But there's something about fighting sports that is a universal language.
And speaking of Art Davie, I mean, some of our people who are watching, need to understand that, Sean's roots go into the literary world when it comes to fighting, because obviously some people do know that Sean was the ghostwriter for the Art Davie book. And I know that was a big deal when that was taking place. And talk to us a little bit about how that came about, and what kind of an experience that was, because we all know, a lot of us that know that you were very close with Art Davie, practically almost on a daily call basis.
Yeah, we were talking earlier today. I call Art Davie my later in life father. My dad was in my life, as I talked about earlier. I was raised by my mom. In 2011, I don't know why, but I got in my head that I wanted to meet Art Davie. And I was working for Bellator at the time. And a lot of people were like, do you mean Campbell McLaren? No. Do you mean Bob Meyerowitz? No. Art Davie, the guy. And I'm a pretty good Google researcher. And I'm Googling around in 2011, and I find a press release, because Art had done things and he'd gone to K1 and developed some TV shows. And I found the press release from the last couple of years, and this is in 2011. It may have been from XArm or K1. And it has a 702 number. Well, those of us who work in fighting in the U.S. know that 702 is a Las Vegas number. I thought, okay, this is probably going to get me close. Turned out it's Art Davie's cell phone. And I call and I said, hey, Mr. Davie, my name is Sean Wheelock. I'm the commentator for Bellator. I have no agenda other than just to call you. I just wanted to say hi to you. Thank you for my career. Tell you how much what you did means to me. That I watched UFC 1 live as a kid in November 12th, 1993. It changed my life, and we hit it off. So I call Art my later in life father, and that's no disrespect to my late father, but Art's my later in life father. Art never had kids. He was married 4 times, never had kids. He's very close to his nephew, and hopefully I kind of fill into that void. My daughters, Ellie and Hadley, who I know are watching this, they call him Grandpa Art. He treats them as his granddaughters, sends them birthday gifts, Christmas gifts. I was just with Art last week at the ABC convention, helping to get the Unified Rules of Bare Knuckle passed. And Art was honored by the ABC in their Circle of Honor. He is a truly remarkable man. The greatest thing about Art is that creating the UFC, and therefore de facto creating the sport of MMA, doesn't define him. He was a Marine in Vietnam. He was an advertising man. He came up with an early dating app. He had a car lot that was based on that, what you see with like Carvana. He's always been an innovator. I remember for the book, I was like, okay, Art, we both have to write our bios for the publisher. And like literally in the 5th or the 6th line, it's like created the UFC. I'm like, way to bury the lead there, man. But it speaks to his personality. The UFC was a big part of his life. It's not his whole life. He's had a life since the UFC. He started at 93. He was out in December of 1997. It's something he's very proud of, but it doesn't define him. It's something he did in a lifetime of a lot of amazing things that he's accomplished.
Beautiful.
Nice. So, as you were just saying about the ABC, as we all, well, most of us know now, as of August 2nd, a big pivotal moment in the growth of bare knuckle fighting in the United States, as the ABC approves unified rules for bare knuckle fighting. And we all know that you were a big part of that. How do you feel about that, Sean?
Tony, it really feels great because I'm from Kansas. I'm not allowed to feel smug. That's not an emotion that we have in the Midwest, but I feel really good about it. It was the culmination of 3 years, but really it's the culmination of since David Feldman hired me to start consulting for him in June of 2016. I knew the path that we had to take. And we had to get acceptance in a few early states, and then ultimately we had to have unified rules. The arc has been from this is disgusting, this is the worst thing I've ever heard of, we will never allow this, to, it's not that bad, to, wow, I'm really interested, to, hey, we would like this, but we need unified rules, and now we have unified rules. the calls that I've had with commissions in the United States and Canada, these are tribal commissions as well as state athletic commissions, it is wide open. And we're talking about the great Art Davie. Look, this was his path. Art Davie, as he's trying to put together the UFC. Jim Coleman, who's the editor of Black Belt Magazine, writes an op-ed, calls this dirty fighting. He's getting people telling him as he's calling to try to get fighters, worst idea I've ever heard. You imagine owning a company and you watch Larry King live on CNN and there's Senator John McCain saying this is human cockfighting. That's what happened to Art Davie. You imagine reading the New York Times, and Art Davie's a native New Yorker, and there's an op-ed saying death is cheap. It cost $14.95, which was the cost of the pay-per-view. So as I've told David Feldman, and it was so great that David Feldman, Art Davie, and I were together at the ABC. And I said, David, you're living Art's life 30 years later. And David said, yeah. And Art, I wish you would have told me how difficult it is. And Art's liking that moment because this is the same path. You look at MMA. It starts in 93. He doesn't get actual rules that adopted until Mississippi in 96. The first unified rules in 2001. So we've done it in 5 years. It took the UFC, and Art was gone by then, in MMA, 8 years to do it. New York doesn't come on board, even though they did early UFCs in Buffalo, or they did one UFC in Buffalo, and then they decided that they didn't like the sport of MMA. It takes till 2016. It's the same thing, from this is the worst thing I've ever heard to tell me more to, yeah, I'm all in. That's the trajectory that we're on with BKFC and with the sport of bare knuckle fighting. I knew it. I try to be a student of this history. Having Art Davie as my later than life dad, I knew the struggles that he had. And ultimately it comes down to people get comfortable and then they accept it and then you regulate it. And so that's what happened last week in Las Vegas, is states and commissions that literally 6 years ago thought I was talking. It would have been like if I said, all right, you're going to strap two people to the hood of a car and you're going to drive forward and they're both going to be holding spears. It was like I got that reaction to, wow, let's get this done. What the unified rules does is it doesn't open up everywhere for the states. And there are many, it's the vast majority of state athletic commissions in the US who now want to do bare knuckle fighting. This gives them a clear path to where maybe they had problems with their governor's office or their state legislature or commission members. Now this gives them a path that they can legally, through the Association of Boxing Commissions, have our great sport in their state or their tribal commission.
Yeah, it's the blueprint. It's the blueprint to lay the groundwork, and we've been very fortunate. That considering our paths have been a little similar to what the UFC started 30 years ago, but I definitely have to believe that with all the trials and the tribulations that the UFC went through, there was some paving of the way for us that made our trajectory a little less rocky, a little less bumpy. I mean, it's kind of like let the sins be on the father, but the son coming forward, is going to be it's a little bit easier for him. So there's definitely that. But you're right. It absolutely has not been an easy road. I was there since day one. I know exactly how everybody was looking at BKFC. It's almost like everybody was in the tall grass, peeking over, just seeing how this was going to work, and it ended up working out better than we could have imagined. Still to this day, my favorite fight at BKFC was at BKFC 1, and that was Tony Lopez and Joey Beltran. What an amazing fight that was. And speaking of which, our man of mystery, Patrolman, actually has an interesting question for you.
I was gonna.
Go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. You got it.
All right. Excuse us, Sean. Sometimes we're working on who says what. I never shut the hell up. You guys know Tony's getting so much better at knowing how to just jump in. So I appreciate that, Tony. But if you were going to go ahead and have your 5-man BKFC Mount Rushmore of organically grown fighters from the ground up, who would that be? What would your Mount Rushmore look like?
You're giving me 4 or 5. You said 5, Jeff?
Top 5.
I know it's a Rushmore, but they're adding another one in. So let's go ahead and let's go top 5 organically grown fighters within BKFC since day one.
So you're saying organic. So you're saying we eliminate Chris Lytle and Joe Riggs. Would that eliminate Joey Beltran? Or would you say organic? And I'm being curious on this. Are you saying fighters who really weren't well known? Because Joey Beltran was in the UFC and in Bellator. I first knew him in Bellator, where I commentated him. So if you're going by those strict parameters, see if I can give you 5. So Christine Faria, she had been in Invicta and Lion Fight, but she was not that well known. Absolutely. She's so great. I think Britton Hart, the fact that she was stuck through no fault of her own as a B-sider in boxing, not well known at all. Reggie Barnett Jr., someone who had a good boxing record. He was 6-1 in pro boxing when he came to us, and he had MMA. But that's certainly organic. This is very good on this. I like this a lot. And then it's like people have been so dominant, but if you were saying organic, you can't say John Dodson because he fought Demetrius Johnson twice for the UFC 125-pound world title. Those are 3 for starters. It'd be tough to look past Arnold A.J. Adams. He had over 20, maybe 25 pro MMA fights, but not for a major organization. Maybe to put him in there. You can't throw in Johnny Bedford under those parameters because Bedford, I first had him in Bellator, and then he had a nice run in the UFC. That's difficult with the parameters. That's very difficult. For sure,
they're not my parameters. That was the question of the moment. I mean, honestly, I don't know if I would have been that specific.
But if we're using that, say people who weren't in a major organization or
that's a
top 10 world ranked professional boxer, for sure, immediately you have to say Christine Faria, Britton Hart, Reggie Barnett Jr. I'll think about that as we go forward. I know I'm immediately forgetting people, but
our matchmaker says you have to throw in Lorenzo Hunt in there.
Oh, yeah. What a horrible omission for me. Lorenzo Hunt is phenomenal, and look at the job that he did with Bryce Hall. Amazing. Yeah, Lorenzo Hunt. This is someone who was 3-5 in pro MMA, and he's arguably the best pound for pound fighter in the sport of bare knuckle fighting. So Lorenzo Hunt is 4. Someone trigger me and I'll get to number 5. So here's what's great is that in our very brief 5.5 year, not quite 5.5 year history of BKFC, you have Chris Lytle, you have Thiago Alves, you have DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley, right? You have Austin Trout, you have Diego Sanchez, you have Joe Riggs, but then you have somebody like Lorenzo Hunt at 3-5, or somebody like Britton Hart, who is on the B side in professional boxing. And sometimes it's not even your talent, it's the circumstances you find yourself in, short money, short notice, big money, short notice. But the way that they've excelled, and yeah, Lorenzo Hunt, maybe of everyone I named, is quintessential in that. Someone who just had to find their sport and absolutely found their sport.
No, I think that's
100%.
I think that's very fair. I think that right there is, I mean, you've pretty much itemized, everything on the organic growth of these fighters. Now, Brandon Allen's joining us.
Yeah,
and I definitely believe he's another one that's stepped in that has definitely made a name for himself. Another one that I can think of, Tony Soto, another one that's come in who has just, really done good things for us in just a short amount of time, has had some good fights. I mean, there's so many that can come to mind when we're talking about organic growth.
You could say Dave Mundell. Dave Mundell had a fight in Bellator, but you could say he was on an undercard. Dave Mundell, Francesco Ricci. Say something about Brandon Allen, and Chris Lytle and I are in love with the fighting style of Brandon Allen, and phenomenal guy, phenomenal personality, great fighter. One of our fighter meetings, Brandon said, man, the last thing I ever wanted is to be in a fight of the night. And Chris laughs. He's like, who you're talking to, right? Because Chris, of course, had so many fight of the night bonuses, paid off his house, actually. But we love that about Brandon, is that you can be rugged, you can be brutal, but you're still not engaging in wars. You're technical, you're clean, you're in and out. And we're captivated by Brandon Allen. He's a great dude, too. Great guy.
Now, I have a question. I'm seeing the UFC poster behind you, but right next to that, is that right there, is that the Welsh flag that I smuggled in from you from David Round?
It is. Yep. That you transported for me. Yeah. So David Round is someone who I've developed a nice friendship with just about a year now. I had never met David Round. I met him at the fighter meetings. That was at Bkfc in London when we were at Wembley last year. And I mentioned to him, my wife is English, but I've been to Wales a number of times. And don't tell my wife, but I actually like Wales better than England. And we just really hit it off. And he and his wife, they're so lovely. They're such nice people. And he brought me some Welsh cakes, which are amazing. And he gave me some whiskey, which I found especially amazing, along with the Welsh cakes. I sent him some KC Masterpiece barbecue sauce. We have a really nice friendship. So that was his last fight in BKFC, and there's some nice blood on it, and he autographed it, and it's up on my wall next to my UFC 1 poster in my office.
Sean, we are going to do something that we normally never do. This is the first time we've done it ever, and because we want to keep you on, normally we would, wrong words of kicking off, but send you off. But we want. I'm good at using my words, man. But so what we're gonna do, we want to keep you on. So what we're gonna do is bring in our next, our next guest.
Oh, you definitely know our next guest.
The next champ. Who knows? Here we go. The one and only, the Gypsy himself, Jake Lindsey.
What's up, big dog?
What's up?
I can listen. I don't know about you guys, but I can listen to Sean talk all night. He is such a charismatic
I felt bad.
guy.
You've been in there for like 20 minutes.
You got to start a podcast, man. You got to have a podcast.
Why don't you? Why don't you?
I've done it twice, Jake. Maybe you and me can do one, man, fellow Kansans. But no, I did one with John McCarthy. We started in 2014 when there weren't a ton of podcasts. And then John basically got an ultimatum from the UFC. It's either the podcast or refereeing. And John doesn't like to be told what to do. And he was going to choose the podcast. But at that point, I think we had about $8 in revenue. So I was like, John, you better keep refereeing in the UFC. And then I did one with Ben Askren and Joe Warren. And that was a lot of fun. And we got picked up by Podcast One. And we thought, all right, here we go. Here comes the big money. And we got canceled about 20 weeks later. So there you go.
Oh. Those two guys, Ben Askren and Joe Warren, those guys are some of the most talented but ugly dudes you'll ever see. You know what I mean? That's the name of their podcast, Talented but Ugly.
What would your podcast be? The Gypsy Wheelock? I don't know.
I don't know, something about Kansas, I think.
Jake, I think
the Gypsy Lock. I'm trying to stay out of jail, so I can't be, because you get on podcasts, you start telling stories. You know what I mean? I'm trying to stay out of jail right now.
Well, while we have you on here, Jake, I definitely want to go ahead and touch base about a very unique circumstance that happened not too long ago in BKFC London. My goodness, what a bizarre show that was. All the happenings that were happening. There was so much that was going on with the crowd. There were drugs that were being passed around. There was nonstop alcohol. Seriously, there were, Tony. There actually were. And when you combine London and Birmingham, it's never a good scenario when you've got that much alcohol flowing. You and Connor Tierney in the main event. I mean, even what happened after the fight was over, nobody saw. Sean, I don't know if you guys were privy to anything that was happening outside of the ring just after I announced the winner of Jake Lindsey's fight. It was wild.
Yeah, they were scrapping. Relatively mild night considering it's a soccer hooligan town. Like relatively mild probably. I knew it was going to get crazy. I was like, you know what? It sucked because my normal trainer, Joe, couldn't come with me. And I was like, man, I'm going to need to get some guys because after the fight, we're probably going to have to fight again. It's going to be rowdy. And they did a good job, though. They rushed me out of there real quick. They were like, because I went over to the crowd. First off, some chick jumped on the cage, started yelling at me. I started yelling at her. Then I went over to the crowd. Someone said something. I started going back and forth. I was like, get in the cage then. Get in the ring. And he almost started walking over. Then I was like, all right, I need to calm down and just get out of here.
That blonde girl, right? She jumped up on the apron, right? That blonde girl that jumped up on the apron. She kept coming over to me and saying, restart the fight. That wasn't fair. Restart the fight. I'm like, oh, well, of course I could do that.
At first, I was like, okay, baby wants to make it with the champ. Oh yeah. I walked over to her. I was like, "What's up, girl?" And she's like, "You motherfucker!" Blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Oh, okay. It's not like that, huh?"
Nice kickboxer reference. I like that. I like that. I
Yeah.
like that.
She wants to make it with the champ.
Go for it, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now that you're coming back to the States, gonna be fighting in the beautiful state of Florida in the heat in MIA, home of the bad boys. Sorry, no. What what are you looking for most to besides the fight to coming out to Miami?
Honestly, I'm so boring. Like my Joe, my coach is trying. He's like, "Come on, let's stay for like a week, bro. Let's do it." I was like, "Nah, dude. I'm flying in, and I'm putting hands on a guy, and then I'm flying out the next morning. I don't play around, man. Like I like Miami. Um, excuse me. I like Florida a lot because their politics. They have. I agree a lot with their politics. They are very conservative. You know, um, a very conservative state, a very fair state. I like the way it's ran. I don't know much about Miami. I know it's a big party town. I'd probably get in too much trouble, but man, I'm excited to be fighting in the U.S. I wouldn't have flown. I hate traveling at this point in my career. We were supposed to fight originally in Wichita for the belt, which is 2 hours from my house, which I was super excited about. But Miami's a short flight. I know they got some banging ass food there, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
They got
Cuban
thick,
food.
I know
Oh,
they
yeah.
got thick Cuban girls and big ass tacos. So I'll be partaking in one of those
That's all
Good
you need in
combination. Good combo.
So you're talking like a single man. For all our ladies watching, is the gypsy single then?
I don't have a girlfriend, but I know a girl would be mad to hear me say that.
Oh,
That's,
then you're married. Then you're married.
no, there ain't no rock, baby. Single.
Hey,
That's
there it
Mitch
is.
Hedberg right there. That's
No
Mitch
tan
Hedberg.
lines. No tan lines. I like it. I like it. All right, man. So we were really excited to hear about this fight because the fight in London was a title eliminator fight. It was set up that way. You know, Gorion, your opponent, also went through a title eliminator. So the right fight between the two of you did happen, is going to happen, and such. You know, talk to us for a second about your opponent, Gorion Slavetsky, another guy who's on a tear within the Bkfc, just like yourself. I mean, you know, you're currently 4-0 with us. You know, you've just had some awesome fights, but this is another guy who is hungry, just like yourself. And you know, when worlds collide, when you got two fighters that are hungry for a belt, and let everybody know, this is no longer for an interim belt. This is for the 165-pound world championship.
World,
So,
baby.
yes,
World.
this is for the world championship. So, talk to us about your opponent, Gorion.
Well, I think he has a lot of hype behind him. I think it's deserved. He's very tough. You know, big scary. I know he's a big scary. Was he Macedonian?
Yes,
Right,
Skopje, from
Macedonian.
Skopje. Mm-hmm.
And he's talented. He's good at what he does good. You have to be in shape when you fight that guy because he comes forward continuously.
Mm-hmm.
Every fighter has their subconscious things they do, whether they train to not do it or not. And he has certain things like that I can exploit, I think. We're both aggressive and we're both bullies, so we'll see. I don't think he's used to throwing hard on people and getting the back up, and because you got to be scared of getting cracked by a guy that can throw like that, right? So, but I think sometimes people give him a little bit too much respect just because they don't have the technical ability to kind of navigate that kind of fight of a guy who dips his head down and throws hard. He's not. And the thing about him that makes him difficult to fight is because guys who normally fight like him are slow, right? And he's pretty quick. So that's why guys get caught by him. But I mean, I don't know anything about him personally. I'm gonna punch him in his fucking mouth. So it's gonna be a good fight, man. I think this is a real combat sports fight. This is two of the best guys in the division. This isn't about who has more Instagram followers. This isn't some fucking Instagram influencer fight, and all the hype behind this fight is going to be from just the pure talent level and the magic that can happen in fights like that. So it'll be a great fight, man. I'm excited.
Sean, we don't normally do this. What's your take?
I literally just messaged Sean to same thing.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you, and then guys, I'm going to turn it over to Jake because my wife and kids are getting back from the Barbie movie, and we have Eastbound and Down to watch now. I don't know what that says about my parenting skills, but we have Eastbound and Down to watch. Jake, you know my family. That's pretty much it. They go to the Barbie movie, then we watch Kenny Powers. But let me say this: I've known Jake a long time. He's a fellow Kansan. We have a very close mutual friend in Joe Wilk. Jake, I am so happy for you. Jake is legitimately in a sport of great people, is one of the best people I've ever met. Not only is amazingly talented, everything that's happening for you in BKFC, I wish it happened for you in the UFC, my friend. But now, 10 years later, you're getting all that success. If it had happened for you in the UFC, we wouldn't be in this situation. And now we have you in BKFC, and that's to our benefit. But I just want to tell you, friend to friend, and this doesn't bias my commentary. It never does. I am so happy for you, Jake. You deserve all of your success. You've done everything right. Everybody in the fight scene in Kansas and the Midwest. I saw Jake 2 weeks ago when he was cornering an amateur fighter. Drove in. I'm sure you didn't make a lot of money for that. You probably paid for the gas. That's the type of guy that Jake Lindsey is. You've done everything right in your career. You're ultra talented. I'm really happy for you with this opportunity, pal.
Hey, man. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that.
So, Jake, all the best to you. DJ Tony, Jeff, thank you so much for having me on. And, guys, I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the kind words, guys.
All right.
No problem.
That's the
Thank
one
you
and
very
only
much. We'll see you
Sean
in
Wheelock.
Miami.
We will see you next week in Miami.
Mr. Mountain Dew.
Diet Mountain Dew.
Diet. All right, brother.
Thank you, guys.
You see how he dodged the question?
What's that?
You see how he dodged the question?
Oh,
He didn't answer your
absolutely.
question.
Of course.
Classic.
Of course. No problem. No, definitely no problem there. But, just so much is actually happening. I mean, Jake, you've come to BKFC at a very interesting time. You've been with us since about mid-time when BKFC first started becoming a reality, and based on all the other combat sports that you've had the opportunity to be with, especially you've been steeped in MMA for so long, UFC, Bellator, Titan FC, all across the board, all across the world. What's your take as far as your involvement on BKFC? I mean, it has to be a good take because the fact that next week you're going to be fighting for a world championship. So you just can't deny the greatness that is BKFC.
I think BKFC is by far the best combat sport in the world currently. And like you said, I've done everything. I've done MMA, pro kickboxing, pro boxing. I've done Muay Thai. I've done just straight Greco-Roman wrestling. I've done jiu-jitsu. There's some magic that they captured with BKFC, and it just so happened for me, it just kind of right place and right time. I've actually done underground bare knuckle back when it was illegal. This was probably 10, 11 years ago, just for fun. It was something that I enjoyed doing. I got approached by some guys who knew I fought. I did a couple of them. Then it got a little shady. I dipped out. But even back then, I was like, if they could fill this up in an arena, this would be a fantastic sport. So, and it just happened for me. I was kind of getting MMA. I love MMA. I've been doing it. I've done it for 20 years, but it just got redundant for me. It just wasn't. It didn't have that kind of like raw energy, that glory to it anymore for me. So they just happened to, right when I was like, I'm kind of done with MMA. They just happened to pop up in Kansas. I was like, fuck, sign me up. I'll do this for free. So, yeah, man, it's great. It's evolving. It's evolving faster than I think any other sport. It's getting a lot of eyes on it. And, here's how you know that BKFC is awesome. Here's how you know. Because if I put on the UFC, like someone who doesn't really watch UFC is like, that's kind of cool. They'll they'll be watching at my house. They'll be like, but when you can put on an undercard fight for bare knuckle, and they're like, oh shit, and they're instantly enthralled. They're instantly in tune with it, right? It's a whole different level. So they've done fantastic. And it's an honor of mine to be able to represent Kansas in a sport like this. It's in my blood, so let's go. Let's keep cracking and growing the sport, man. That's what I'm here for.
It feels that way, doesn't it? It absolutely does feel that way. There's that wow factor with BKFC that
Nope.
you don't see in other combat sports. But I have a question, and then I'm going to turn it over to DJ Tony. My question to you is: what was the cause for the sudden change of probably one of the best nicknames in the history of combat sports? I mean, honestly, I absolutely love that. So, but I'm interesting. Why does the librarian become the gypsy?
Well, to be honest with you, I originally back when this is 17, 18, 19, 20 years ago, I wanted my name to, that's what I wanted originally my name to be, is Gypsy Jake Lindsey. That was like, oh, that's going to be my MMA name. Well, my second amateur fight, since I actually was a librarian, so they called me Library Jake, and then we had Fireman Jake. So my second amateur fight, my coach knew the promoter. He said, hey, introduce him as the librarian. And then it just stuck. And it fit my personality. I've always had kind of a dual personality. Like I'm kind of a video game nerd, librarian guy. But then on the other side, I was like this kind of, good humored, but like little street kid, got in a lot of trouble. So, right when Bkfc, I had my first fight, they called me the librarian. And my buddy who's known me for, my whole life, he's like, dude, fuck this librarian. It's gypsy time now. This is bare knuckle. I was like, let's rebrand, baby. So, it's not a really complex reason, but that's now I get to embrace that part of my personality a bit more,
I just never got the opportunity to ask you, so that's why it was just
Yeah.
gnawing away at me for so long. What you got, Tony?
The librarian was good though, because like back when I've been around MMA I'm old school. I'm OG. I'm talking Shudo VHSs I ordered from Japan. And back then, like when it started becoming popular in the United States, everyone's nicknames were fucking stupid. It was like the assassin or the this or the something very like I'm big and scary, So the librarian, people would always, my opponents after I fought, I'm like, man, I thought you were going to be a pussy because your nickname was the librarian. I was like,
The
and you know what's
zookeeper.
funny? Here's like a little inside story. So people always started shit with me. It's funny that people have that impression of me by my nickname, because it was actually true in a way. People always tried to fight me all the time in the bars for some reason. And I beat up so many people that I didn't want to have to beat up, because we'd all go out. It was like a joke at our gym. We'd all go to the bars. And I'm telling you, every night some guy would come over directly to me and just start shit. And everyone's like, why do people do that? Like, why? What about you makes people think that you can't fight? Well, I'm the worst fucking dude to do it with, too. And you know what it was? I was thinking years later, because all my teammates, they had like contracts with the military. They're military guys, or they're this and that. And they have all these big beards and tattoos. Well, I worked at the library, so I had to be clean shaven. I got off work in my little button-up shirt, and I'd go to the bar. And literally one night, we're sitting there, and this guy's like looking at all of us. He doesn't like us clearly, but he's like, I'm not messing with that guy. He's got tattoos and a beard. He like split the crowd, and he would walk over to me. He's like, you're a fucking idiot. I was like, what is it about me? So it's ironic that years later, when I started fighting people, were like, I thought you were going to be a pussy because your name was librarian. But,
I gotcha. So, librarian, obviously, you're into books. Give me your top 3 books ever.
I can't read.
Oh, well then, never mind.
I'm just kidding. No,
He said he was a gamer. He also said he was a gamer on top of that.
But
I mean,
I've never actually asked anybody what their
Ever.
favorite books are. We've done movies, we've done other stuff.
Here.
I've never
I got some books for you. I liked all the Dragonlance, all the Dragonlance books. There's too many to name, so that entire series. There's a book called The Synchronicity Key by David Wilcox, which I really enjoy. You should check it out and read it. It's like 10 years ago, if you would hear a summary of it, you'd think I was a crazy person. But a lot of his like theories, he's into like UFOs and physics and stuff like that. He had all these obscure theories that are now being proven true. And then a third book, man, probably definitely not Harry Potter. Those books are horrible. I would
Profitable.
definitely profitable though. That chick is based though. Have you heard what's been going on with her? All the woke people have been mad at her about something, and she told them all to fuck off.
God.
She's pretty based.
Now
Yeah, they
what?
were mad about something. I don't know. They were mad at, like, how can you be mad at the lady who wrote Harry Potter? You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
what did she do wrong?
I
They didn't
know.
have they didn't have like transgender wizards or some bullshit like that. So, but she told them all to fuck off. So I like her. My third book, probably Garden of the Gods, which is a really old. I think it was written by Graham Hancock. If you know who that is, it's an old book about ancient civilizations and yada yada yada. He was just on Joe Rogan recently, actually. So those are 3 books. How about you? What's your favorite book?
All right, I got one.
If you don't say R.L. Stein, I don't know any.
You go,
Any
Tony.
authors.
Goosebumps, baby.
Goosebumps all day.
You go, Tony.
I was never a book reader. I'm not gonna lie. My favorite book that I've ever read is actually the Rock's autobiography.
Okay.
The one that came out, I don't know, back in the early 2000s or whenever it came out. But and yeah, not to joke around, but all the Goosebumps books, that was my stuff.
Dude, those books were hard, man. They don't make shit like that no more.
I know.
And that's pretty much it. I can't lie. I don't really. The Bible. How about that? There you go.
Greatest story ever told.
Greatest
story ever told.
Can't go wrong with that.
That's
my 3.
All right, mine are Peter Benchley, Jaws. Just an absolute masterpiece. It's just a page turner, and so incredibly different from the movie, which it should be. Probably Bret Easton Ellis, American Psycho. What a hard read that is for me.
I've always wanted to read that.
It's a hard read.
It's a good book.
Oh, it's incredible. It's a page turn like nothing. And I've always been a fan of Frank Herbert, the Dune series. You know, I mean, because every single book, anytime that you're talking about a different era, about what's going on, it's the stories are so radically different. The writing is so radically different between novels. So I'm a huge fan. I mean, I was a fan of it when it came out in the 1984 movie, which prompted me to start reading the Dune series. And I got up to Dune, I believe it was the Worm God book, and I believe that was the last one that I read. But those would definitely be mine. I mean, I know that goes much more beyond 3 books because of the Dune series, but that's mine.
What do you think about the new movies?
You know, it's kind of interesting, man, because the thing about it is, okay, when you watch the first one and you watch David Lynch, and I'm a huge David Lynch fan, because he was a guy who was ahead of his time, and he worked with what he had in 1984. And you also have to remember, in 1984, that was the year of the Terminator. So no matter what came out in science fiction, it's almost like it wasn't automatically given a chance because this was Arnold Schwarzenegger's breakthrough, movie. So big mountain to climb over. This one had a little bit better grasp on what the technology would look like in the year 10,191. And the characters that they used, I'm not sure how I feel about Paul Atreides yet. I'm kind of on the fence about him a little bit. I was much bigger fan of the actor that played Paul Atreides in the 1984 Dune. But as
I like Baron Harkonnen.
Oh, dude, he's fucking cool, isn't he?
I haven't seen the movies, but I just watched the clips, and it's badass.
Oh my
God!
Here's
a question for you guys. I just thought of this one. They asked me this. Now, feel free not to answer. When did you lose your virginity? Let's go.
Wow,
these are questions that we would have had back on when we were sponsored by OnlyFans. But here, we'll go with it. I was let's say 7th grade. There you go.
Woo!
7th grade.
What age is that? What age is that?
Girl. I don't even want to mention it because
only
because my daughter's so close to that age that it does. I don't
even right.
Gotcha.
Having daughters changes
as a parent now, I don't even want to think about that age.
It's so funny too.
That's like 13 or something.
Oof. Yeah, it's so crazy. Like I just said someone just asked me that. I did a podcast earlier. That was like the second question they asked me. I was like, oh, okay, well, all right. But it's yeah, that's the ripe young age of seventh grade.
No
Used
innocence
to,
there. No innocence
ride my
there.
bike about 5 miles every day just to indulge, I'll say.
I can't beat that, man. I can't beat that, man. I was 18, but she was 25, so that was fun.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Got the older woman. Met her from a friend, hanging out the first day. She had friends that came over. They decided to go upstairs and fuck in my brother's room, and so they're saying, why don't we? I'm like, okay. So it was just, just very as a matter of fact and everything like that. But I figure 17, 18, that's a pretty good age. That's a pretty good age where you've got where you've got to handle it. Okay, you've asked the hosts, put the guest on there.
Why don't you guess? What do you think? They don't call me the gypsy for no reason, boy.
Holy
we're gonna go with I'll go with 13.
Hey, first guess. That's it.
Wow, early double digits. Nice.
I win a gypsy T-shirt.
No, I got this like $3 Walmart clothes off. My favorite. I need to get some more made. I have a whole bunch, but yeah, when I was younger, for some reason, I got a lot of attention from a lot of older women, like 25, 26, 27. No clue why. But I got lucky, I guess, when I was younger. And it's so funny, like the differences, because you remember, I had a buddy who didn't lose his virginity until he was like 25, and like it sucks to lose it a little younger, but like I don't think people understand when you're like a kid going through puberty, you're like just praying to God that you could just quit beating off.
That's
like,
true.
Please, God, I just don't want no more. I can't do it anymore. But right when that testosterone hits you, boy, it's a game changer, man. It's a game changer. I have no clue how we got here, but we're here now.
All right,
so.
Here we go. I might as well change the logo up in the corner then, since
boom. Dude, bring that baby.
Brought to you by OnlyFans. Yes, brought to you. Wow, that was we were not expecting that 180-degree turn, but that's what makes Bones to Domes the unusual place that it is, man.
OnlyFans didn't want to sponsor me, so fuck them.
What? All right, I took them off already, so.
Take them off. Bucked Up, though, those are my guys. Bucked Up's actually really good. I didn't, at first, like when they first came out, I was like, oh, this I mean, it looks kind of like cringe, but then I actually had one of their drinks, and I was like, what's up, boy?
Oh, man,
I know.
I take about 3 or 4 sips, and I'm like, ready.
Good drink.
Well, not only that, if you look at it from the perspective of an energy drink company, it almost seems like every single time that we have a Bkfc event, they have a new flavor. It seems like they're constantly moving forward, and that their marketing and their advertising is crazy aggressive.
Their marketing is good too. It's really popular actually around in the Midwest because we have a lot of hunters and stuff around here. Just the fact that it's called Bucked Up. Just that fact, you get guys all over it. It's good shit, man. I'm actually going to have one tomorrow morning. I look forward to it in the morning because, especially now, I'm cutting some weight. You know what I'm saying? You get a little tired. You get up in the morning, have that Bucked Up energy drink, and I'm ready to roll, boy. I think I'm starting to grow fucking horns, too. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, it holds up the halo. Holds up the halo, dude.
Yeah.
The horns have got to hold up the halo.
So we got... Shit, I'm fighting what? Not this Saturday, but next Friday.
Next
Friday night.
Bkfc.
Week and a half.
I know.
Dude, I'm such a veteran in this stuff. I don't really think about, like, when I was younger, I've had damn near 50 fights, so, like, I don't really even think about it. So I'll even forget about, like, I looked at my clock today. I was like, I got about 3.5 weeks. I'm like, oh, shit. Week and 5 days. So I hate dwelling on it because I get eager. It's like, come on, let's go. So it's kind of nice that it happens, but it's gonna be a good ass card, man. Tom Show's fighting. He's fighting that new kid.
Oh, that's good.
I think Tom's gonna bust his ass up.
That is, dude. That there's a lot of interesting. When I saw that matchup between Bryce Henry and Tom Show, dude, that is an interesting fucking fight.
I think okay. I think if Tom comes out for that fight, here's my breakdown of it. If Tom comes out over eager, because he's really technical, but he knows how to brawl. See, that's one thing between boxing and bare knuckles. Technical brawlers are actually better in bare knuckle because you can't do this. You can't hold your hand here and have a glove cover your whole face, right? You just can't do it. So guys who are really slick in boxing and can block and do all that stuff and are real technical, it just doesn't work as well. And guys like Tom who are technical brawlers, I should say, he can be real technical, but he has that kind of brawly style. They excel. So I think if Tom stays patient and slowly amps up the brawling style throughout the rounds, I think he'll break them. Yeah, what's his name? Bryce, you said?
Yeah,
I think he'll break.
Yeah. Bryce Henry. Bryce Henry.
He's really clean. He wants to sit back, long jabs. He wants to play that like traditional boxing game. And I think Tom will, if he slowly don't come out and start cracking right off the bat. Warm up a bit, get your timing down. But then over the rounds, I think Tom's going to just push the pressure, and with that brawling inside clinch work style, I think he's going to bust his ass up.
Well, this is only what Tom Schoaf's second fight at 155. I think within BKFC.
Oh, it's at 155.
Yeah,
at 155. I did not know
they announced earlier actually on the BKFC show that this is actually going to be his retirement fight from BKFC. So I want to see how he's going to also come out. Is he going to come out too fast? Is he going to come out, like you said, hopefully chill? And
Tom said that?
That's what BKFC said. That's what Brian Socha said earlier today.
Dude, I've been saying I was going to retire for like 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, I've been saying that forever. I doubt. I bet you he needs a little bit of space from the sport. You know what I mean? And then I bet you he'll be back. Too talented to retire.
I think that's fair. Fair. I absolutely agree. I understand sometimes you have to take stock of the situation and you look at that. And, coming up against Bryce Henry, another thing that's going to make it an interesting fight is just how incredibly calm Bryce Henry has been with us when he's fought with us. I mean, he kind of reminds me of, G. G's very calm. Unfortunately, not the best set of circumstances that happened this last fight. It's never cool when you see a fighter get injured. Taking away the fight from him. When, trust me, if there was any one fight that G wanted to see through, it was definitely that one. So
he would have beat that dude's ass.
Our hearts are going out to G for that. It was just a bad set of circumstances. It really was.
It was, and you know what? Like, yeah, he got clipped right off the bat. Whatever. That dude's weighs 175. He's jacked. G's a little smaller, but G took the hit fine, and he was gonna whip that dude's ass. That guy got nothing personal against him. I know he's not a pro fighter or nothing, but he was gonna whip that dude's ass. That guy got off lucky.
I felt G beat him in the second round with one hand, so
he
I
did.
can only imagine what would happen if he cracked him good. G will definitely be back. G will be back in ASAP and be right back in there ready to go. Hopefully,
I feel bad. I feel bad for his next opponent. Opponent.
Yeah, they're kind of putting themselves in a weird position in terms of with Tom, because if Tom's going to retire, what if Tom goes out there and does his thing and busts this dude up? Then you have your young prospect who's got beat up by the guy who's retiring. So where do you go from there, right?
Very true.
But stacked ass card though, man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It sucks fighting at the end though, because I'd rather get it out of the way so I go watch. You know what I mean? Get that shit done. But main events, man. I like I said, I'm impatient as hell. I want to get there, fight, and then be done with it. I got
business fans.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Jake, I wanted to ask you, when you were at BKFC 37, right before the main event, I want to know, did you get an opportunity to watch any of the fights?
Yeah.
Did you get a chance?
They were cracking.
I'm gonna tell you what. There was a fight that actually happened there that has made it to my top 5, and I don't think it's gotten the credit that it should have had. And it was our first Frenchman in the history of BKFC. It was Cedric Severac and Chaz Wasserman. That was fucking insane.
Yeah, that was a good fight.
That was fucking insane, man. Did you see the tear in Chaz's ear? Looked like a shark fin missing from his
After
ear.
the fight, he came walking on back. I was like, well, shit, that was a good one.
And then
Goddamn.
Cedric had a lip split all the way to his nostril. It was just, I mean, if you know as well as I know, with those kinds of injuries stateside, there's no way that fight would have gone to completion.
No, it would have. I kind of got like, it was one of those fights when you're waiting to fight, you're kind of like, you like watching it, but you're like, God damn, like you see a guy get cracked, you're like, okay, I'm coming up next. I'm coming up real soon. And then they get back up and they go for 3 rounds. It's like one of those fights you see, and off the bat, you're like, there's no way it goes the full 5 rounds. And then sure as shit.
Well, because Cedric went down 3 times in the first round. You know, everybody's like, "Oh, there's no way." And then he comes out in the second round. He's a completely different person.
Sometimes you need a little bit of you need to wake up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well, how did you feel in there with Conor? You know, I mean, knowing that there was a whole bunch of Brumtown bombers watching, you know, from the stands from Birmingham that had come down to there. How did you feel?
Well, I'm immune to any sort of like outside mental interference. I don't give a fuck if we're in the living room. You know what I mean? It would have been the same. I felt pretty good. I kind of like, I didn't perform probably as good as I could have, to be honest with you. But there's some things I could have done a lot better. But I felt generally pretty good. First, second round, I felt good. He starts my ass into that third round. But I recovered. I was in good ass shape, so I recovered real well. Fourth round, it took me a little bit to get back in my groove. Fifth round, I basically felt probably the best the fifth round, energy-wise and mentally, which kind of sucks. I wish they would have, like, they not stopped it, I was going to be all over his ass. But it would have been so cool to go to a extra round. How cool that would have been.
An overtime round?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
you know,
it's badass.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because, you know, there was a lot of controversy actually about the stoppage. I mean, not that the stoppage wasn't not that the stoppage wasn't warranted, but a lot of people were talking about why the referee assigned didn't give him the standing 8 count before he waved it off.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's one of those weird things because, like, it's a case by case. Mm-hmm. You're not the. Well, a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, like they rigged it." It's like, no, this fucking hometown. Like,
yeah, it would be the opposite.
That would make no sense.
I personally thought he could have kept going, but there's some small subtleties in. I had a buddy who's a ref, and he was watching it, and he was like, you know, there's subtleties there in Conor's behavior. I've been clipped before, real bad, and if you look at me. Sometimes you look more hurt than you are, and sometimes you don't look as hurt as you are. Mm-hmm. And there's some subtleties there in how he was moving. He wasn't looking at the guy. He kept taking his mouthpiece out. His hands were there because, he's an experienced fighter, and Conor, you have to kill that motherfucker. So of course he's going to get up and put his hands up. I personally thought, and I told him right after the fight with his corner, I was like, hey, sorry, I thought he could have kept going, but from what the ref explained, I mean, it's like. He said, you know, his eyes are a little bit glassed over. He's not looking at him. He's not talking to him. He's taking his mouthpiece out. I don't know, though. I think he could have kept going. Fuck it. It's the main event, 5th round. Worst case scenario, he gets dropped again. Okay, then you can wave it off. Give him a chance to, you know, come back and crack it out. But, I mean, I don't know. I try not to overthink that shit. You know, it's like the it can happen to anybody. I mean, I'm sure there have been fights where I've been clipped but not really hurt, and then it's been stopped, and vice versa. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit early. He could have kept going probably, but I don't know.
Tony, I didn't think about the mouthpiece. You know, that's a very very good point. I remember seeing that.
I was going to say 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah. And the ref told him to put it back in, and he put it back in. And then he kind of walked away from him and spit it out again. So that could have been an intention.
That could have been the ref could have seen that as an intention that he doesn't want to continue.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it could also be when you get clipped really bad. I'll tell you a funny story as I explain this. When you get clipped really hard, this has happened to me. Sometimes you you'll you'll do things non-voluntary. There's certain functions of your body that just become automatic. That's a sign of like a really bad neurological issue, like a flash neurological, like your brain kind of partially shuts down, and as it's rebooting, things will happen. Like guys will open their mouths, they'll go like that. One time I gave a guy a boner. No bullshit. I knocked my second amateur fight, the same fight that I got announced to the librarian. I fucking knocked this dude out hard. I clipped him and I caught him. And then as he was falling, I was hitting him, and I hit him like 10, 15 times before the ref realized he was knocked out. Well, sure as shit. This is back in the day, by the way, where you don't have to have a nut cup and you can wear like basketball shorts. This is old school. So we go to the back, and all my corners like laughing at him. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up, man, because we're all in the same locker room. This is like in a fucking showbiz or something. It's like in one little. This is old school MMA, and they're like, no, look at him, and that dude had a fucking hard on. And the doctor told me later, he's like, yeah, when you knock him out, sometimes your body can do things that it's not supposed to be doing. So he came over to like congratulate me afterwards, and he's like trying to give me a hug. And I'm like, little handshake. I'm like pat him on the back like this. I'm like,
Good job, buddy.
And then like it's fun walking, this was his girlfriend, because his girlfriend actually cornered him. And I kept bumping into her on the hallways after that. It was really awkward. She was really not happy with me. I was like, look, man, I'm sorry. But
I mean, not happy.
Anyway,
I mean, a precursor to a good night. Come on, she should have been just fine.
Normally after you fight, you can't do that. You can't have sex because your adrenaline dump. But anyway, so yeah, maybe that was something with Conor. I think Conor's really talented. It sucks. I think he could have kept going, and they should have gave him that chance. But what are you gonna do? Didn't he fight recently? Did he fight again?
I don't think he's fought since then.
No, I don't.
No.
He may have had a boxing. He may have had a boxing fight.
Yeah, didn't he beat some dude up? I think he beat some dude up.
I actually think that he did have a boxing event. Yeah, I think he did. I think he did very well, actually. Yeah. Now that I think about it, yes, I do believe that he had a boxing event fight. Yeah.
It's kind of a jump to like for fighting Gorion to Conor is completely different than Gorion. So like it's been like a so it's kind of night and day with my back to like getting ready for Conor is not the same thing you have to do to get ready for Gorion. Totally different with Gorion though. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a good one, man. It's gonna be a barn burner. I'm excited.
You just took my next question.
Too. What's that?
Yeah, so you just took my next question. I was going to say, what is the difference in your training? That's what I was going to ask you.
Well, he's a southpaw. That's the major difference. Luckily for me, I train a lot with Isaac Doolittle.
Nice.
We were just sparring the other day, so I've been working a lot with him. I have a really talented southpaw. He's an ex-fighter, could have easily made it to the UFC. He knocked out a couple dudes. He beat Julian Marquez. I mean, he knocked out a bunch of guys who are in the UFC now. But his name's Chris Harris. He's out of Wichita, Kansas. He trains with David Rickles. Really high fight IQ. People sleep on Kansas, man. A lot of those guys, especially those guys from Wichita, man, they got high fight IQs. But he's kind of helped me game plan for this guy, and he can mimic him. He's a jacked, really talented striker, southpaw too. So with Gorion, though, you got to be able to like. And luckily for me, I train with a lot of guys who are like this. Like Isaac is he's a pressure-based fighter. He's in your fucking face all the time. He's not going to give you. You have to, hurt him real bad to have him stay off you. But with Gorion, you have to be in shape, and you have to be able to handle that kind of pressure. Like I said, he breaks guys, and it's not even so much that he can be technical. I've seen his boxing matches. It's not even the fact that he doesn't overwhelm guys with like a lot of volume. It's just the steady. I think the continuous danger that comes at you. It's like he's throwing fucking bombs the whole time. He'll throw a jab across here or there, but he's ducking his head and boom, 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 and then he resets and he gets right back in your face. Boom, boom, boom. I think people get flustered by that because they don't have the experience. Luckily for me, I've fought tons of guys like that. So, man, it's the same almost with everybody. I got to get in really good shape. I'm in killer shape right now. I'm healthy. I'm motivated. I'm getting into that point where I'm getting close to the fight and my aggression's going up. I almost smashed a store clerk's face earlier for no reason. That's a good sign. That's a good sign, right?
That's a
Since
sign.
you mentioned him, Since you mentioned Dave Rickles, we want to give a quick shout out to him. We just seen him this past weekend, actually,
Absolutely.
at the fights. And because of Dave Rickles, he's actually the one that gave us our name, Bones to Domes.
That's
It's
right.
his little quote. So we asked permission from him to kind of take it
Oh
from
no
him.
shit! Yeah, that's
Yeah.
when he fought Julian Lane.
That's
Yeah,
right. And
so
then afterwards, he said, "Bones to domes, baby." And I remember talking with Tony because Tony and I were, we had been wanting to form a podcast together. And I just had this in the back of my mind. I said, you know something? I said, if we could get his permission for that, I said, that would actually be a really cool name because it was just one of those catchphrases that sticks with you. You hear it once and you remember it.
Man,
Good
I've known
stuff.
David back in the day. Man, that's my boy. Me and him one time this is years ago, like
Mhm.
over 10 years ago. We
so
got
yesterday.
probably 15. We got real drunk after a fight show, and then we went to the High V and we stole pizza, and it was really awkward because we tried to walk out the doors and they were locked, and the store clerk was just standing there staring at us, and so we had to slowly pry it open. We had we were shitty. We had frozen pizzas. We were like, I don't even know. We were just that drunk. It was after an amateur fight show, probably 20 years ago. Yeah. That's my boy right there,
When do you get into Miami?
dude. I'm flying out Wednesday, so day before weigh-ins. My fucking plane leaves at 5 in the morning, which is annoying, but it lands. It's like no layovers, which is nice. So I leave at 5 a.m. Wednesday.
Nice.
I won't be sucking, so I don't really cut my water off until about 3. We'll see when the when the weigh-ins are at, because normally 24 hours before I kind of cut my water off. But I fly out Wednesday and then I fly back Saturday first thing in the fucking morning, which is nice because I'm not sleeping Friday night. That's not happening. I can never sleep after fights, so no. Nope. So man, I'm super excited about it. Like I said, Gogo's he's a monster. I like fighting monsters. I don't like fighting guys who are fucking easy fights. So, I got some tricks for him. Gonna hit him with some gypsy shit. Pop, pop.
Gypsy
I'm
shit.
gonna try to avoid all of his
Definitely.
fucking. I try to avoid all of his fucking, secret, crazy fucking overhand right or overhand lefts and shit. I'm trying to avoid all this big power, but if I get hit a couple times, it'll be all right. It's
Sounds
just
like
gonna
fun.
be one of those good old fashioned slobber knockers. You know what I
Good
mean?
old-fashioned slobber knockers.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be one of them good ones, man. I'm telling you. I'm about to start throwing
Bring
chairs
out the
right
good
now.
old JR. Yeah, throwing chairs.
That's
Devon,
right.
I'm
get
actually in
the
a church
table.
right now. I'm in a
Smash mouth.
church right now. That's why I calm down.
Smash mouth fighting. Smash mouth fighting. That's
Yep.
exactly
Yep.
what we have. Well, Jake, I got to tell you, man, we have enjoyed having you on. I swear, what an awesome interview you are. And we thank you so much for coming on and joining us here at Bones to Domes. Like always, we like to give everyone who joins us an opportunity for their multitude of shout outs. And I know that with your fight coming up, I know you probably got people to thank, sponsors to thank. So we're going to give you a moment to go ahead and give your shout outs here on Bones to Domes.
Well, first off, I want to thank Bucked Up Energy Drinks for making some badass drinks. Those things get me through the fucking day. I want to thank everyone in my life who's always supported me. I always say that. I kind of fight for those people still. I have that fire and passion. But yeah, all my friends who supported me, I want to thank them. And then that's it, really, man. Just watch the fight. Just watch the fight. I'll do the thank yous after the fight. Right now, I'm focused on smashing someone's face. But yeah, that's that.
All right. All right. Well, we're going to make sure that focus stays exactly where it needs to be in the squared circle. I know you'll have a multitude to thank when you got that gold over your shoulder. So thank you so much for joining us, man. Like I said, you were an absolutely fantastic
Are you guys going to be
interview.
there?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Come on. Of course. Of course.
Okay, well,
Of course
I'm waiting on
Guess
you.
what we doing? We drinking.
Absolutely. I have no problem there. No problem there.
I'll be drinking bucked up.
We should have done more drinking in London. We should have done more drinking in London, but getting out of there was a chore in itself to begin with that night. So I totally understand that. But no, man, seriously, thank you so much for joining us here. Once again, fantastic interview. We can't wait to have you again. And both DJ and Tony and I wish you the best of luck in your title fight.
You know it, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys. Look at that bicep, boy.
Oh shit! Guns coming out. Guns coming out.
I should probably shut up. I'm in a hospital. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.
All right, brother.
Thank you.
All right, peace.
All right. Oh, Tony.
That was the one and only, the Gypsy, the Librarian, whatever you like to call him, Jake Lindsey.
That was
he's ready,
wow.
man. He is definitely ready.
He is ready. I was not expecting one of our guests to put us on the spot like that.
I loved it.
No. Are you kidding? I love it when we get an opportunity to go 180 from the format. I love it. So much is happening. I mean, we are moving ground here on Bones to Dome so incredibly quickly. We've got so much love, so much respect coming to us. In fact, Sean just texted me back and said, "You and I are awesome together." I totally agree with that. We've got an awesome format. We've got an awesome show. We're very fortunate to have the sponsors that we have, Bucked Up Energy and Billboard Mats. They know
Yes,
we're going to
sir.
start, and we're letting everybody know out there, if you want to be a sponsor on Bones to Domes, you're going to get the most for your money. You're going to get the most for your money because we never shut the fuck up about what we like.
There you go.
So we will continue to push any product that comes our way, no matter how incredulous. If Michael Jordan has no problem selling Rayovac batteries, we will make sure that your sponsorship is well mentioned throughout Bones to Domes and across social media. So, but fun show, man.
Yeah.
Fun
another
show.
Another quick one I want to give a shout out to, Jeff, real quick, is obviously, our favorite pizza place, Tournament de Pizza.
Tour de Pizza.
Matt is actually offered to once again start me up since a couple months ago. I'll say a couple months ago, I have failed to keep my promise to myself of keeping my weight down, and I have gained about 40 pounds, which I hate. I can see it in my face right now. I can see it in my shirt and everything. I just hate it. So Matt has told me that for the next month, he's going to put me back on his pizza diet, which got me back down under 200 pounds just a couple months ago. Nice. So he told me also to make sure to get you involved. So maybe, at least once a week we can head over to Tournament de Pizza and meet up and, and get in a good workout with him on the GNet and play some tennis and all that good stuff.
As long as I can bring my pickleball stuff. As long as we can get some pickleball in there. Actually,
I'll let you two handle that. I'll do the running while you guys are doing pickleball.
On. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's adult table tennis. What's wrong with that, man? Good stuff.
Also, as I sent you earlier, we're going to have something really cool starting off our show next week. We have a good friend. He's actually here from the Tampa Bay area, born in Brooklyn, New York. He lives now in the Tampa Bay area. If you did watch the last event, he actually made G. Perez's, the Cutman's theme song for when he came out. He's actually has made our theme song. He sent me over a sample. Man, it's awesome. Me and Jeff love it.
Oh, I love it.
His name is Vince Serrano. He's number 4 on the iTunes charts. He's been on VH1's My True Crime Story, number 16 on Billboard Billboard charts. Nice. You are also my main man, Tony Loco Soto.
Yep. Tony Soto out of Brooklyn, New York.
So he has put together our theme song, which is, man, it's dope. So we will be introing it next Tuesday to open up our show, which I'm really, really excited about.
Which is going to be live from Miami.
Live from Miami.
It's going to be live. We're going to be shoulder to shoulder. We're going to be shoulder to shoulder again, like
with
we
our
were
guests.
with our guests, just like we were at BKFC 48 just a short little while
Yep,
ago in
weigh-ins.
Albuquerque. Albuquerque was fun this time for me, man.
Definitely
Albuquerque,
was.
I had a lot of stuff that was happening. A lot of stuff. I definitely want to give a shout out to Misha with. Oh man, I just did one. Just a lot of interesting people that I met, but I'm gonna say Misha Lebu. Let me make sure Lebubimov, I believe is his last name. He's the general manager over there at Jackson Wink, and I got an opportunity to go out to dinner with him the night before the fights, and I was given a very, very exclusive tour throughout Jackson Wink over there and
Nice.
it was just so cool. I got to meet the crack-a-lackin' back specialist, Dr. Bo Hightower. A lot of people have seen his videos worldwide. If there's any famous back that's out there, he's cracked it. I absolutely, and you've seen him with the big plastic mallets with the Thor hammer. I mean, definitely one, just one of the world's most infamous chiropractors, 100%. I forgot that he was over there at Jackson Wink, and he also gave me an incredible opportunity. I put the video out there for people to see. I was allowed to sign the Wall of Fame in the
Yep.
hallowed
Just see that.
halls of the dormitories, and you've been up there in the dormitories, right?
I have been once, yes. And yeah, really cool guy, like you said. I actually had same as you.
All the names on the wall. Oh my God! I mean, it's just the legends, the icons, the legends of everybody who signed the walls up there in the dormitories. And he just extended me that great honor to be immortalized on the walls of fame within Jackson Winks. It's just absolutely unbelievable. Howie and I got to do a little Breaking Bad stuff, not too much. Unfortunately, we didn't get an opportunity to see Walter White's house, but we did go by Twisters, which is Los Pollos Hermanos, and we did get to eat over there. Very, very cool that we got to see that. So
Awesome.
really, really exciting trip. Really, really exciting trip, and you cannot deny the Albuquerque fight fans. I mean, we
Yes.
had
Crazy.
close. I think Dave said that we had close to 7,000 people at the event this time around. They always show up, lines around the venue. Fans absolutely loving everything that was coming their way, and what a night it was. I love each and every time, Tony, that we get the opportunity to come to Albuquerque. We always put on a good show.
Definitely. I mean, from the first fight of the prelims to the last fight, they were just loud. I mean, screaming loud the whole entire time. At some points, louder than my music I was playing. There was one point where me and obviously Jan, but our sound guy, sound producer, looked at each other, and we're just like in awe of how loud and how amazing and big the crowd looked. Just watching from our point.
One of them
Go
was
ahead.
One of them was Donald Sanchez. I know that. Donald Sanchez got an incredible pop that I couldn't even hear the music. I couldn't hear.
Yeah.
I couldn't even hear the music. And the other one I think was Josh Moreno when he came out. Josh Moreno just absolutely came out to an incredibly loud ovation. But I think the ovation of the night was Donald Sanchez was actually a little bit more than our boy the magician. Mr. Dodson,
Yeah,
actually.
well, he came out to what I would like to call the like Mexican fighting song or Mexican
What, Josh
boxing
Moreno?
walkout.
Josh Moreno?
Yeah. So as soon as he
I've heard
gave me
so
that song,
many fighters come out to
like,
that fight.
I knew, like, but as soon as he came out, man, that crowd was crazy loud.
That Tejano
And,
song, I've heard so many times. I've heard it so many times from fighters. That is a
And Jan just as soon as
quintessential fight. Quintessential fight. As far as music for anybody who's a fan of Tejano music and such, that is a quintessential walkout song.
as soon as he came out to that, me and Jan just looked at each other, and we're just like, man, I told you, I said, get ready for this walkout.
Get ready for an explosion.
And the jefes. Every time you play that song, crowd goes crazy. But I want to take a second also, like Tony Soto had mentioned right here, the tryouts this week in Virginia are going to be amazing. We got our own Chris Lytle, who's going to be running those. Got a lot of fighters. I believe Tony Soto will be there.
Mr. Red
Reggie,
Rims. Mr.
yeah,
Red Rims
Mr.
will be
Red
there.
Rim
Brian
will
Maxwell.
be
That's
there.
going to be in Roanoke, right?
Yes, sir.
That's his backyard right there. That's his stomping ground.
Also, Reggie Barnett Jr. is going to be there. I believe Britton Hart told me she was going to be there as well. So should be. I know a couple other people posted this saying that they were going as well. So should be an amazing turnout. Wish I could be there. Still thinking about flying out. Just trying to see about getting a hotel. Bkfc.
Hint, hint. Dropping the hints. Dropping the hints. Yeah,
definitely.
And remember, there were some other fights that were announced over BKFC 48. Obviously, BKFC 51 is going to be taking place in Salem, Virginia.
Salem.
Just right outside of Roanoke. That's going to be BKFC 51. They went ahead and released dates for BKFC Thailand, which is going to be Bukau and Sanchai. That's going to be fucking awesome. That right there. Yep. I am going to do everything that I possibly can to make sure that I am there for BKFC Thailand 5. I want to be there. That's history in the making right there. That right there is a man, that's a dream fight right there, and I definitely want to be a part of that. Plus, also, Dave dropped it on it, November 17th, BKFC Bulgaria. Over there in Sofia, man. They've already got a couple fights that are already scheduled for that one. So exciting stuff as far as what's coming up. But that's just a few of the fights. I mean, we haven't even begun to talk about what's coming our way in October and November. I mean, obviously, we know what's coming, for the remainder of August. We've got our back-to-back shows coming up next week for the Prospect Series on the 24th, then BKFC 49 at the Miami-Dade Fairgrounds the very next day. And then in September, we've got back-to-back shows. We haven't even announced October as of yet. But Dave says that there's going to be some big developments going on throughout the rest of the year. And he also did verify, and I'm excited about this, the successful re-signing of BKFC superstar Platinum Mike Perry. I'm excited that they were finally able to come to terms on continuing his fight game here. And even Mike Perry said, my fight world is now with BKFC. That did my heart so good.
Yeah, multi-fight deals. So that's great. Get to keep him for at least another year, we'll say, hopefully.
I hope he finishes out. I'm going to be honest. I hope he finishes out his career with us. I hope that when he's ready to hang it up, I mean, that's the best thing about BKFC. There's nothing to hang up. There's no gloves to hang up, so you don't have to worry about that. But once he decides to, take the next step in his journey of life, I certainly hope that he finishes with us. I truly believe so many people that have come over to BKFC and they've been a glove fit in a sport with no gloves. Mike Perry is the quintessential fighter that has come over here that is absolutely, he was bred for this sport. He was made for this sport. I mean, it's so cool that he's had the opportunity that he's had across the board with all other combative sports, with the UFC. But coming here, I truly believe was probably his best move ever.
Yeah, they're going to see, which I guess, of course, us homegrown BKFC guys want to see him take on Dave Mundell. We'll see if that happens, or if they bring in another. Not to say Dave's not a big name, but to bring in another. I guess you could say
he should have one more fight.
He
should have one more fight before that. I mean, I'm hoping that he has one more fight in November, because they were talking about bringing him back in November, having that one fight coming back, because it has been a while since we've seen him. Let's get that one fight booked in November. If it is a title fight, then so be it. But I think that he needs one more fight, and then after that one fight, then you can put that
Knucklemania.
You could put that's definitely a possibility. I mean, because February comes real fast, so that's definitely a possibility there. But just Tony, I'm gonna tell you, man. I've been involved in some podcasts, throughout my career. I tried things. I got to be honest with you, man. I'm having so much fun with Bones to Domes, because we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants, but there is some degree of order and format here. Not much, but we're having fun. But we're having fun, aren't we?
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm loving every day. Just thinking of new concepts. Like I said, when I got the even just getting that song today just got me so excited, just ready to put that together.
You did
I have
awesome
another
on that.
person,
I'm proud of you on that, man. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
brother.
you.
Thank you. I have another person working on some clips to put together for the song to have a little intro video with the song.
Nice.
So it's gonna be good. I came to him with the idea of FS1's. Oh man, what the heck's their number one freaking show? They had Skip Bayless and
shit.
Man.
You're gonna have to look that one. You're gonna have to look that.
Undisputed. There you go.
There we go.
Because
there we go.
Lil Wayne, did their theme song. So that's what I told him I wanted something like that, and within literally 30 minutes, he sent me a track, and I was like,
"That's awesome."
Don't even have to do another one. That's the one right there. I literally just asked him for one little edit, and that's it. So we'll have it definitely this week. Yeah, it's like a 1 minute track, all we need though, and it's it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to actually debut it next week with the video to start opening and closing all our shows. So that
any ideas about Tuesday's show?
Next Tuesday? No, I kind of just I was just thinking that we get there Tuesday, and just kind of just do a little bit like we did for the Bkfc 48 weigh-ins, and kind of just interview whoever's around. I haven't actually asked anyone specifically. Oh no, I can't lie. I did ask 2 of the people that are fighting on the prospects. Yeah, prospects. Which is Brandon and Chachi Versace.
Definitely got to get Chachi Versace on. Absolutely.
They'll both be on for sure. And then from there, we'll kind of just go with the flow, and just bring on some people randomly. Maybe we'll even bring on some some lucky guests, pull them out of the comments, and have them come on.
Absolutely.
I'm definitely going to be bringing some billboard mats with me to give away to some lucky guests there. Okay. And also some signed pictures that I have. Also, man, look at this really, really cool card that I've been holding on to. Oh, can you see it? No, kind of.
Oh, there we go.
John Dotson signed this for me this week.
Oh, very cool.
His old school UFC card from
that's cool.
2014. So
I like
that's going up with all the memorabilia. So, but yeah, we have some Luis Palomino autograph pictures, some Lorenzo Hunt
look who's joining
pictures.
us. Look who's joining us in the comment. Mr. Bola.
Oh, what about my main? Oh man, that's gonna be a fight that I can't wait to see there.
I am excited when I
love
that
Esteban,
fight.
Man. He's so cool. Always so cool. So
the name
laid back.
that I'm gonna start calling him the name that entertains. This guy is the epitome of what a character is, man. You are a character and a half, man. Every time that we see you, even when you're just walking around, checking your weight, saying hello to everyone, there's a presence that you command. And I just wish that was the kind of presence that would rub off on other fighters. But maybe it's good that it doesn't, because then it keeps you the person that you are, man. So just Esteban, I got to tell you what, man, keep doing what you're doing, because it's fucking working.
That's a cruiserweight fight, him and Jomi Escoboza. So that should be.
God, that's gonna be a cool fight. That's gonna be a cool fucking
wait for
fight,
that
man.
fight.
Because Jomi hasn't been back with us for a while, so it's gonna be interesting.
It's been over a year, I believe he said. So,
and Esteban's a big guy too. On top of that,
so them two, they both bring the forward pressure. It's gonna be It's gonna be an amazing fight, and I definitely can't wait for that. Like two warriors just ready to.
The irresistible force
them.
Meets the immovable object.
Yeah, yes. It's like two hawks going at each other.
I know, and that's good. Sometimes that's good, man. Let the bulls interlock those horns, man. Let them interlock those horns. That's what we want to see. Let those two bulls, those two bears, size each other up, and boom, just make magic happen, baby.
Definitely have to have Esteban. Esteban, when do you get in? If you're still in the chat, what day do you get in?
Yeah,
if you're in on Tuesday, definitely got to get you in.
Yes, sir.
If not, well, I'll definitely get you on for the weigh-ins.
Absolutely.
All right, that's what I would like to hear right there. He's calling it his best performance yet.
He's calling his shot. He's calling his shot. I like it. I like it. I like it.
Definitely. But I'm excited. Yeah, these Miami cards. We didn't even get a chance to let's see talk about another card that obviously was announced I believe last week or the week before. September 22nd, we head back to Denver to the first bank set for Lorenzo Hunt being challenged by Chris Camozzi, who were both in that in the corners of G and Bryce this past weekend.
Successful cornering done by Lorenzo. Very, very successful. Lorenzo was very pleased at how Bryce handled himself. He says that he handled himself according to how he was trained. And I'm like, that's good, because you never know how somebody brand new to the fight game, and especially with the mountain that he had to climb in the form of G, how he was going to handle himself. But the one thing that I will definitely give Bryce credit for, he showed no fear walking right in. He showed no fear. He got in there and he said, I got to get my hands dirty. I got to make a statement. And he did. Now, once again, was it a tainted victory? I mean, I don't necessarily know if it was a tainted victory, but there's always something that leaves a question up there when there's an injury. So it's kind of like what Jake was talking about and everything. Now, would he have absolutely destroyed him? I mean, there's nothing that we can say that was 100% that he would have. Would it have been a more competitive fight? I'm not sure. I mean, it's one of those scenarios we can't play out because that's just not the way it played out. It's just not the way that it played out. It was an unfortunate injury stoppage. G wanted to continue. He really, really, truly did. But when he injured his elbow. It took a wheel away from him and everything. And it's just not a situation that any fighter wants to continue with. And I know that he kind of did, but it is what it is. I'm wondering if one day that might run back. I don't know, but you and I, the way that we think, I think, Tony, the logical closure point would be to run it back.
Definitely, you have to. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if G's going to want to put that weight back on again.
See, that's the only thing I'm thinking about.
Yeah, that's the only reason why. Otherwise, than that, I know G. G. He's definitely taking. He'll fight anybody.
He'll fight anybody. But his natural walk around weight, as far as fights. His natural weight class is between 135 and 145.
Yeah, so to go all the way up to 165 or 167.
He was 164.8. He said that he lost weight.
Yeah. He lost, I think he said 3 pounds overnight. So
that put him down to like 160, 161. That put him down.
And then he was I believe the fight was at 167, and by the time it was fight time, Bryce was up to from what G said, Bryce was up to like close to 190. So big difference.
Well, he weighed in at 168.6 and obviously put on some weight after that, and obviously put on some weight.
Oh yeah. I meant after,
because he looked big.
Go time.
Because he definitely looked bigger.
He was definitely about we'll say 25 pounds more than G come fight time. G actually went back down, after he weighed in.
Mm-hmm.
So coming in, he was, at like 160, I think. So he had a good 25, 30 pounds on him too. But no, G's a warrior. He'll be back by the end of the year for sure.
Are you kidding?
Another situation. I'm afraid to see who he's going to fight next.
I was just about to say that. I pity his next opponent. I pity his next opponent, man. I mean, that's a lot of frustration that he's carrying around for that. I hope he doesn't hang on. G, as far as that frustration and, being disappointed in yourself, brother, I hope that you don't hold on to that. It's like a house of bricks that just weighs you down, man. I hope you're not doing that. Heal up, rest up, move forward. Know that this is just a bump in the road, brother. There are no losses. There are lessons. So just
for sure.
Push forward, brother.
It's just, I think it's more just a lot. Like it would be for anybody. I mean, Bryce, like we all know, and, has millions of followers. So, there's going to be whatever, let's just say 100,000 people talking
Have you seen
shit,
how many
and
have you seen how many views his videos have gotten since it's
yeah.
insane. Millions
So
upon millions of
just,
people have been viewing it. It's crazy.
but we know G, for knowing G, he's overcome way more than that, so it's nothing to him.
Time.
I literally just talked to him yesterday. He's he's about to get back. Hopefully, we'll see after he gets his MRI done on his elbow to see what how much he hurt his arm. Hopefully, he can be back in the gym in the next couple of weeks and get right back into fight camp and get ready to knock someone out again.
We need you back, G. You're part of the backbone of the BKFC, man. We need you back. I mean, we love having you in Fighter Logistics. We love having you as the cut man. But when you got talent like that, when you got bare knuckle fighting talent like you got, brother, you got to keep it in the ring.
For sure. So we got, like we said, the can't wait for our first ever prospect series coming up next Thursday night in Miami, Florida. Miami-Dade, what is it? Convention Center? Fairgrounds. There you go.
Miami-Dade Fairgrounds with a beta test with a beta test on a brand new concept.
I believe we have 12 or 13 fights on that card, and then the next night 12 fights. So it's going to be a heavy loaded BKFC fight week. I'm too excited. Over 20 fights in 2 days.
I got more than that. And I got more than that because I'm flying out. I'm flying out 8:30 in the morning on Saturday to go do peak fighting at the Ford Arena in Beaumont, at the Ford Arena in Beaumont, Texas. And that alone is going to be anywhere from 10 to 12 fights on that. So you want to talk about the epitome of wearing your voice out, man? That's 3 back-to-back shows. Woo, Mr. Live Worldwide is going to be put to the test. But hey, I'm the best. Hey, I'm the best for a reason. Let's keep it going.
There you go. Lots of honey. I'm gonna have to bring you that. What was that drink that you liked that had that whatever special syrup in it or whatever?
Oh yeah,
Torta Pizza. I'm gonna have to bring you a bottle so you could.
I remember
keep your voice stuff nice and sounding.
That was good. I like that. That was good. I like that. All right, Tony. Anything you got to say Anything you got to say before we close out?
No. Only thing that I wish is that what I was thinking when BKFC announced BKFC 51 in Salem. I wish that they would have put that around Halloween time. I think that would have been cool to be in Salem for Halloween.
Would have been cool to be in Salem, Massachusetts.
Is it a different place? See, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Thought it was the same place.
No. Where the Salem witch trials were held back in the day. That's actually Salem, Massachusetts, not Virginia.
Little did I know. See. Well, I guess I'll leave it off on being wrong and.
Cut it out. Cut it out. Hey, it's a thought that counts on that because I'm a big Halloween nerd myself. So that even if it had been Salem, Virginia, it still would have been fucking cool.
And then the 29th, no, that can't be right. I'm sorry.
The 29th. The 29th.
No, that's the 29th.
Salem.
But no, I was thinking our show after that. Yeah, it is. No, that can't be. Oh, it's September. I'm tripping. So August 29th, I'll go ahead and announce that we will have I guess you can say a VA, a Virginia edition, and have on 2 of our BKFC champs, Reggie Barnett Jr. and Britton Hart. So that's going to be a good watch right there. Excited to have them 2 on. Got to see Britton Hart this weekend. And I don't know if you guys seen, I did post a video.
Oh, the squash video. The squash video,
but
yes.
I have to give huge credit to Jules. Jules is the one who put that together. Jules is the one that set them up to squash the beef. I was just lucky enough to be there to video or have them speak on it. But big shout out to Jules. She is definitely 100% the reason why that happened. And the reason why she is taking over the women's division and doing what she's doing best.
Doing fantastic.
So shout out to Jules on that. But yeah.
That Sydney Smith fight was fantastic. That Sydney Smith.
Oh yeah.
They were going at it. They were going. They absolutely were. Did you see Sydney lost that tooth right in the middle?
And still smiling. Hit us with the
classic smiling.
The classic Crystal Pittman smile at the end of the fight. But this time she had missing teeth. It was I can't wait, man. It was can't wait for the next. We got I think women's fight in both. Actually, I believe we have see, I can't go ahead and say too much because stuff hasn't been announced that I know.
So we got,
but we
yeah,
do.
we gotta,
Yeah. I'll just say we have lots of women's fights coming up next week. So make sure you check those all out too, because the women love to fight more than the men do. I'll say.
Seems like it. It absolutely seems like it. But because of Jules building the division the way that she is, we're going to be expecting a lot of world-class fights that are going to continue on throughout the women's division. Welcome addition to BKFC. So happy about it. Guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for another edition of Bones to Domes podcast. For everyone that chimed in and checked us out tonight, we certainly appreciate that. Remember, yes, Bones to Domes across all social media forums. We've decided to bring it back to Facebook Live because our audience, as of right now, seems to be rocking and rolling within Facebook Live. And you got to go where the people are. As of right now, we gave our YouTube page a try, and we're going to let that build a little bit more over time. But as of right now, as far as fan interaction, watching, and participation, Facebook Live is going to be our home. As of right now, we're having fun here. Big shout outs to Bucked Up Energy, Billboard Mats, Tour to Pizza. Thank you guys so much. Special thanks to our guests, Gypsy Jake Lindsey, and of course Sean Wheelock. Awesome guests, awesome show.
Sure.
What you got, DJ Tony?
I got nothing much. That's it, man. Gonna even though it's 11 o'clock, gonna take my daughter out. Unfortunately, was a little under the weather, so has to miss school tomorrow. But gonna take her out for a little late night walk, like she likes to do. So that's about it, man. Hit the sack. So we will catch you guys next Tuesday live from Miami.
That's right.
Home of the bad boys. Bad boys, bad boys. What you gonna do when they come for you?
They come for you. We'll see you next week.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Peace
we'll
out.
See you next week.